Good evening, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. My name is Kayla Hartwig. I am the placement director here at National Training. Tonight, we're going to have a very special guest, Mr. Frank Bradley with Covenant. He's going to be joining us here in just a few minutes. So we're going to go through some things first while we wait on people to finish signing in. Looks like a few people are still joining. So again, thank you guys so much for joining tonight, joining our Tuesday night webinar. We always love doing these and have a lot of fun. So just to go through some of the housekeeping while everybody's still logging in, you might be joining us from your desktop computer, maybe your laptop or a tablet or a smartphone. You're going to see some controls that you guys all have access to. The first one, number one, is going to be this orange or red microphone. Everybody is in the listen only mode at the moment. We will open those lines up for some questions here shortly. Second is going to be the hand icon. If at any point we're going too fast, or if you have a specific question about something that we're talking about right at the moment, go ahead and raise your hand. So just so I can make sure everybody can hear me okay, would you guys all go ahead and click on that green hand icon? Thank you, John, Richard, Timothy. Everybody's raising their hands. Thank you very much. And then I can put them all down with one swoop of a click of a button real fast. The third icon you're going to see is that little question mark. If anybody has any questions and you might not have a microphone or you just want to type it in, you don't want to talk on the microphone, I get it. You can go ahead and type a question right in there and I'll be happy to answer it for you. And I can read it aloud to Mr. Frank as well if it replies to him. Some of you might have access to a camera. We are going to leave the cameras off tonight just because a lot of people are joining us from a more rural setting and maybe the bandwidth doesn't support having all the cameras on. So we'll leave those off for tonight. A little bit about who we are here at National Training. We were incorporated in 1978 as a proprietary post-secondary vocational education institution, committed to providing a strong curricula with programs that emphasize practical, usable skills blended with relevant general education foundation. We do have a caring environment with personal attention and close faculty-student interaction with an open-door admission policy. We are Florida's oldest private truck driving school. We have a state-of-the-art training facility with a 1.25 mile multi-lane highway and ensures safer, more efficient training. We've got over 40,000. I think we actually just reached 42,000 students since 1978. You might ask yourself, why drive a truck for a living? Simply put, job security. So to kind of talk on job security with us, I would like at this time to invite Mr. Frank on with us here so he can tell us all about his wonderful company, Covenant. Thanks for joining us, Frank.
Thank you, Kayla. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Fantastic. We always love having you on, love having you come to school. We've had a wonderful relationship with you for quite some time now. So tell us a little bit about Covenant. Start about with maybe like the history of Covenant.
Yeah, so Covenant started in 1986 with David and Jacqueline Parker that you see there on the screen. They've been committed to, they founded it on, obviously the name Covenant, they founded it on Christian values. That's the reason I joined the company back in 2006. So again, I'm coming up on 16 years this year. It's what tempted me to go to Covenant. I like the fact that I found since I've been there, you're treated more like a person rather than a number. So it's a very, very good company to work for.
That's wonderful. That definitely sets apart a company from those ones who, like you said, you are just a number. So that's a great thing to hear. And hearing that you've worked there for almost 16 years, like congratulations on that. That in itself is an accomplishment to hear of companies that have that longevity with their employees.
Yeah, I mean, I started out in 06 as a driver for Covenant. Obviously, whoever's on here can hear my accent. I came from England originally. And when I came over to the United States and I went to truck driving school and got my CDL, I drove trucks in England and Europe for 15 years before I came to the US. But unfortunately, back then, that experience didn't carry over. So whatever company I decided to go to, I knew I had to start as a student and build my way up. So So I looked at all the different companies I could find, and I decided Covenant was the right one for me. And so I went to Covenant, started out as a team driver, then I went to a solo driver, and then eventually became a trainer. I drove for 7 years, and I was a trainer for 5 of those years. And then I got the opportunity to come into the recruiting department, where I now currently visit schools from Florida to North Carolina. And as you know, Kayla, I come into your school every 4 weeks on a Friday.
Yep.
And speak to all your students that are in the school.
Fantastic. Yeah, we love having that great relationship with you guys over there at Covenant, and love having you over here every 4 weeks. So
Yeah, and we enjoy the relationship we have with you. I mean, your facility there is probably one of, if not the best that I've seen in my travels doing recruiting. It stands out because of that. We pride ourselves on safety. So you having that 1.25 of 2-lane track for them to practice their gears and practice their driving before they get out on the roads with the general public definitely sets you out better than most.
well, we appreciate that compliment, Frank. It means a lot coming from you. So tell us a little bit about different opportunities that drivers might see with Covenant.
Right, so with Covenant, once they get their CDL from yourselves or any truck driving school that I visit, they have to go to a company that hires them straight from CDL school with no experience, and we then train them up. So our training program is 145 hours of training. We count on that being, say 145 hours of training. It's actually 145 hours of driving. And while they're on that training program, which is roughly about 3 weeks once they finish school, we pay them at $700 a week salary while they're training. Now, if they do come into Covenant without their hazmat endorsement, we will actually assist them to get it. We'll get them back to their home state if we need to while they're out there with their trainer, and get that background and fingerprint process started. And Covenant will also pay for that for them.
Wonderful.
Then once they finish with the training program, they then spend 90 days as a team driver. You'll see the cents per mile down there. Normally, once we finish with that training program, we should have assisted them to get their hazmat in that time period. So we now start them out on cents per mile for those next 90 days. For the first 60 days of those 90 days, we start them out at 65 cents per mile, and that's paid on split miles on the truck. So just for instance, if between them and their co-driver, they get, say, 4,000 miles that week, they're each going to get paid 2,000 miles at 65 cents a mile, so therefore $1,300 each. Once they get through those 60 days, for the next 30 days of their 90 days teaming, they then get paid at 72 cents per mile. If you want to drop that down a little bit, Kayla, after 6 months, we then move them up to 76 cents per mile. After a year, we move them up to 80 cents per mile. Now, once they finish with the 90 days teaming, they do have a couple of options. They can continue to team, teaming being where they make the better money out there. But if teaming isn't for them, and quite honestly, it's not for everybody, they then have the option to go solo. Now, so with Covenant, they're mainly over the road solo down here in Florida, but we do have some opportunities for dedicated and regional. So, and if they're willing to relocate, if they were wishing to relocate up into the Carolinas or up into the middle states, we actually have a lot more opportunities for the solos and the regionals. So they do have a choice at that 90-day stage. And the reason we do that 90 days teaming, we find, look, quite honestly, you don't learn everything out there in those 145 hours. So we find it puts out a much more skilled and a much more professional driver and a much more safer driver after completing that 90 days of team driving.
Absolutely. I can't disagree with you there. You know, the way I kind of put it to people that might be kind of leery of that, I mean, think about it. You're learning how to back these trucks up to a dock, backing in at truck stops. It's nice to have that second set of eyes to be your spotter or to help you out, and you guys kind of conquer it together. So I think it's a great way to spend the first 90 days of your new career.
Absolutely, yeah, we agree, and that's why we have that in place. And like I say, it does provide a more skilled and more professional driver at the end of it.
Fantastic. So tell me a little bit about some different benefits that drivers might receive working for Covenant.
Right, so with the benefits, we have medical, dental, and vision. The vision is done through Cigna. It's available for for them to take out after 60 days with Covenant if they choose ours. There's 3 levels of cover. You can have it for yourself only, yourself and spouse, or yourself and family. And I do know if they take it out for themselves only, the premium starts around about $35 per week. Now, we also have a 401k. Now, with the 401k, it's available to them to take out after 6 months with the company. And we do have a match program. Covenant will match 50% of the first 5% of their paycheck that they opt to put into that 401k.
Very nice. Now, one thing I kind of get a lot of questions about is like tuition reimbursement. Do you guys offer any of that?
Yeah, we do. As you see on the page there, we pay $250 a month tuition reimbursement. They start getting the first payment after 30 days with Covenant, and that continues every month up until we pay them back the price of the truck driving school, up to, as you see there, $10,000, which I'm not sure of any schools that cost $10,000.
Yeah, that well more than covers what we charge here, so that's great.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So I like this part of it. Tell me something that sets Covenant apart from other companies when it comes to safety or anything like that.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it sets us apart, but one thing I was really proud that I found, now obviously me being from Europe, we get the 4 seasons, so we do get all the different weather conditions. Now, obviously, I hire a lot of drivers out of Florida that don't generally get to drive in those wintry conditions.
Yeah.
So one thing that I'm proud that Covenant has is we have a full-time meteorologist at Covenant. So we have a meteorologist department. And now, obviously, we're heading towards the fall. Again, everyone's probably seen, even up in the northeast, the northwest now, they're starting to get into those wintry conditions. So in the wintertime, we actually hire extra part-time meteorologists. And so with Covenant, we're constantly monitoring the different weather conditions. And normally, I mean, we have our own radars on our phones and we can see different conditions coming through. That's obviously what our meteorology team does. And they'll hopefully catch that and route you round away from that bad weather. But here's the thing. We know we're in Florida. We get hurricanes and we get occasional tornadoes. Things can pop up at the last minute. If any of our drivers feel unsafe, now, whether that's high winds, heavy rains, or those winter conditions, one of our macros on our Qualcomm is basically to let their fleet manager know, I don't feel safe in those conditions. Now, everyone's got a different comfort level.
Yep.
Like I say, the people from the northeast, the northwest, they're used to driving those conditions. Us guys down here in the south, we're not maybe so used to that. So you would send a message through that Qualcomm to your fleet manager. And again, look, most of us have smartphones now. We may have looked through and see when that weather condition is going to be blown through. Find the next available safe place to park, that being a rest area or a truck stop, not the side of the road, not on ramps or off ramps, somewhere safe, and just give your fleet manager enough information to when you think you might be rolling again. And if you put down it's going to be 3 hours, and in 3 hours time those conditions still persist, let them know, hey, I need another couple of hours. I really don't feel comfortable driving in these conditions. But like I say, as long as we communicate that, our customers know that those weather conditions are in those areas, and we can make an adjustment to those delivery times and make sure that their product gets there safely, obviously with our driver.
Absolutely. See, I think that's pretty cool because me being a Florida girl through and through, I don't like driving in the snow. So I love that about you guys, that you guys really take that initiative to make sure that the conditions are safe for your drivers. That speaks volumes.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about the different equipment that Covenant has for their drivers, the trucks, things like that.
Yeah, so as you can see with the pictures there, the majority of ours are the Freightliner Cascadias,
Mhm.
and and they're all automatic. The main reason we have the Freightliner Cascadias, they're one of the more economical trucks out there.
Yeah.
And look, we all know the price of fuel at the moment, and it's gone crazy in the last year or so. But like I say, with a trucking company, just to give the guys an example, I think we bought over 55 million gallons of diesel last year.
Ooh.
So when you get an economical truck that maybe saves you maybe 0.2 or 0.5 of a mile per gallon over that amount of fuel, I mean that's a saving that we can pass on to our drivers' salaries. So that's why we go for those. We do have some Kenworths, we do have some Peterbilts, and some Internationals. But like I said, the majority of ours now are the Freightliner Cascadias. They do come equipped with a refrigerator and an inverter. So now I do get the question when I do presentations, is there TVs, is there microwaves and these? Unfortunately, it's not an RV. But here's the thing, with the inverter, it's your truck to keep until we take it off you. We don't do what we call slip seating. So you can equip that truck how you need to. So like when I was driving, back when I finished driving, there wasn't refrigerators equipped in them, but I put the refrigerator on there. I put the microwave, I put the DVD, TV on there. I put the lunchbox oven, the George Foreman grill, different. Now they've got all these air fryers and crock pots and things like slow cookers. And to be honest, they're living on the truck,
Yeah.
so it's expensive to live out there if you're going to try and just buy your food in truck stops. And bear in mind that the size of the vehicle, you're not
Yeah.
going through the McDonald's drive-through and getting the dollar menu,
Yeah.
I mean,
It adds up quick.
yeah. So while I was a trainer, I would show my students that we would stop at Walmart once or twice a week. I mean, we've all seen the trucks parked in the Walmart parking lots,
Oh
and
yeah.
we'd go and get our groceries and we'd cook on the truck,
There you
because
go.
to be honest, you're out there to make money, not spend money.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to have the comforts of home and make it where it's feasible to be out there.
For sure.
Absolutely. So we did get a question asking about cameras. A lot of companies have cameras in their trucks. Do you guys have any that face inside the cab, or are they all forward facing? How does that work with you guys?
Yeah, no, we don't have the in-cab cameras. To be quite honest, we don't need to see any of our drivers picking their nose or doing what they're doing in their private time. No, we do have the safety features though. We do have the following devices, the close following devices where,
Uh-huh.
look, fatigue is a big thing out there. Sometimes you may not realize if you've been into like a 9, 10, getting towards your 11th hour of driving, you may not realize that you're getting fatigued and you might be getting a little bit close to that vehicle in front of you. So we
Yep.
do have the safety devices that will, ease you back in those instances. And we also have the lane departure devices, again, all around fatigue and all about safety. If you happen to be drifting out of your lane and don't realize it, there will be a buzzer that sounds. Now, this doesn't sound when you actually are making a left turn or a right turn into a different lane. As long as you're using your turn signals, the buzzer won't sound. It's all about safety if you happen to be drifting and you don't realize it.
That's great. Those safety features make all the difference and keep everybody safe out there for sure. Not just you, but other drivers on the road as well.
Indeed.
So tell us, do you guys do anything special with military veterans?
Yeah, we do. We have a great military program. So with our military program, a lot of the different companies out there, the military guys have to be out within 5 years to qualify for their program.
Okay.
With ours is out within 7 years. So now, so as long as they've been generally discharged within the last 7 years, they basically, with a good record, obviously, if they were in the military for 2 years, how it works with Covenant, as I went back through the pay scales, the 65, the 72, the 76, and the 80 cents per mile previously, with our military guys, they jump straight off the $700 a week training straight to the 80 cents per mile.
Oh, wow.
So they go straight to top pay. Now that's whether they were transportation based or non-transportation based. Long as they serve 2 years in the military, they jump straight to that. Now also, if they're using their GI Bill or their post 9/11, they are entitled through the VA to a housing stipend in that first year of OJT, on the job training. So we actually are qualified for 1 year and the 2 year program. So if any of those military guys want to use both years, they can do so. If they just want to use the 1 year and save the second year for a later date to train for some other kind of career, they can do that.
Wonderful.
Like I say, we help them set up that program for them also.
That's wonderful. Love taking care of our veterans, that's for sure.
Indeed,
now, Frank,
yeah. It's a good program.
Before we open up the questions, do you have anything else that you feel like we need to touch on before we move on to questions?
Well, just to let them know that if they decide to come to Covenant once they get their CDL, we hold our orientation in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We do provide their travel to orientation. We also provide their accommodation. We give them 3 meals a day, and once they're activated, we pay them $220 for the orientation. And it's a 3-day orientation. It's held every Monday and every Wednesday, except for when there's like a holiday. So last week we had Labor Day. So that week we don't have the Monday orientation. We only hold the Wednesday. So,
Gotcha.
But generally it's twice a week.
Fantastic. All right. So this time we're going to start opening up the lines to some questions. We did get one in the question box here. So Quentin asked, does Covenant allow truck drivers to bring their spouse or travel companion after completing the required training?
Yeah, we do. So now they have to wait until they become a solo driver to bring their traveling companion with them. So we do have a rider policy. But obviously we don't allow it for a team truck. It has to be a solo driver. So yeah, so with the rider policy, it's 8 payments of around about $32 per month. We deduct that out of their paycheck because obviously we need to make sure that that person is insured. The rider is insured while they're out there on the vehicle with their driver. Obviously, should something happen to them, and they can go with them for as long as they like or as many times they like throughout that year. The only stipulation we do have is if it's children, they must be at least 13 years old. And obviously that's for safety reasons.
Yeah, of course. So I know this question will probably get brought up. What about pets? Do you guys have pet policy?
Yeah, we do. We have the pet policy also. Just to give the people an idea, a lot of companies are going away from their pet policy. There's been quite a few related incidents and accidents due to the distraction factor. But we're keeping ours. So with the pet policy, it's a $10 per week payment up until they've paid into a fund of $750.
Okay.
Now, part of that goes towards the added insurance policy because of the distraction factor. But also, when we take that truck off them and give them a brand new one, we may not be trading it out at that point. We may be giving it to a new driver coming into the company. So we're probably going to have to detail that quite a bit more than a regular truck because obviously some people have pet allergies.
Absolutely.
But yes, we have both of those policies.
Fantastic. So if anybody else has any questions, you can go ahead and raise your hand. I'll be happy to call on you. Gwen, I did see that you had a question. Go ahead, you can turn on your microphone and we can ask your question for Frank. you click on that microphone, you should be able to talk. Gwen, if you can hear me, you can click on your microphone and you should be able to answer your question, ask your question. We'll be happy to answer it for you, or you can type it into the question box, whichever works best for you. Give her a few minutes just to get that situated. Anybody else have any questions? You can either type them into the question box or raise your hand. I'll be happy to call on you.
While they're waiting on doing that, Kayla, I know I normally mention this when we come on and do the webinar. If any of the people that are listening in and viewing, if they're not actually enrolled into your school, if they're just thinking about it and want to get some more information, I'm at National every 4 weeks, and I'll be there actually next Friday. I'll be there on, let me just have a look at on the 23rd of September at 11 o'clock. And I know you allow your prospective students to do this. If anyone wants to come in at 11 o'clock, even though they're not enrolled into the school, and come in and sit in on my presentation, they're more than welcome to do that. And I know you appreciate them doing that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I can even give you a tour of the school while you're here. Okay, so we got a couple of questions in the question box. Awesome. How does time off work? John asked.
Right. So with Covenant, we're pretty much like most companies. It's 1 day off for every 6 days that they're out. Now, when I was training, I would recommend to my students, now say we're more of an over-the-road company, I would recommend to my students, try and stay out there for about a month at a time. That way, you're going to run more miles, you're going to earn a lot more money, but also if you stay out 30 days at a time, you then get to take 5 days off when you take your home time.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
Obviously, we know that doesn't suit everybody. So what a lot of our drivers do, I mean, obviously people have got families and they can't commit to that amount of time out. What a lot of our drivers do, because it's that 1 day for every 6, they leave out on a Monday with their co-driver and they stay out through that next weekend, and they then go home the following Friday. So they've been out 12 days. They take Saturday, Sunday off, and they just repeat that process. So
Great.
with Covenant, we don't tell them when to go home, and we don't tell them how long to stay out. It's up to them. Just as you know, Kayla, the nature of trucking, the longer you can stay out, the more miles you can run, so the more money you can earn. And as you've pulled up here on the website here, if anyone wants to go to our website and fill in our application, they can do that. Just click on apply and fill in the application. But also, they can have it actually put in their zip code on this page you have now. If they put their zip code in, they can see what different types of opportunities we have in those different areas. Now, obviously, you're in the Jacksonville area, but so I do from Florida to North Carolina. So we have a lot of different opportunities in all these different areas. Now, these are the more specific ones. You know, if they're looking for more of like a dedicated or a regional route and things like that.
Fantastic. Yeah, there's lots of different options here, it looks like.
Yeah.
All right, so got some more questions coming in. I like it. How much is the training, and do you have per diem? That's what Gwen asked.
Yeah, they'll be on per diem. Now, after 90 days, the training is $700 a week salary while they're doing those 145 hours. Then after that, they go on to the cents per mile. They start out on per diem, and after 90 days, they can opt to come off per diem. Now, what that means is per diem is basically your part of your cents per mile is paid tax-free. So that's a government thing across the board with every trucking company. Now, for some people, a lot of people are going to be different. If you have different dependents that you claim for, sometimes it's better to come off per diem and claim it back at the end of the year through your taxes. Now, me personally, I didn't have any people I was claiming for. So while I was out there driving, I preferred to get that money in my pocket on a weekly basis rather than waiting to claim it back at the end of the tax year. So yeah, they have the choice to be on per diem or off per diem.
Fantastic. And then she also asked, how does the team over the road partnering work? Do they have to come in with a teammate, or do you guys pair them with somebody?
Yeah, look, the easiest way to come in, and especially with a school of your size, where you have a lot of students there, is to come in with somebody from the truck driving school. So if they wish to do that, let their recruiter know who they're coming in with, and we're one of the few companies that will actually train them together. Now, if they come in on their own, we don't pair them up for training. They're basically going to be training with their trainer on their own, but then we help them to find a compatible co-driver. But we don't just put two people together just because they start at the same time. You need to find a compatible co-driver. So you either do or don't want a male or female co-driver. You either do or don't want a smoking co-driver, but they obviously want someone with the same work ethic. So if they want to be out there for those 3-4 weeks at a time, to be out there to make the money, they don't want to be with someone who needs to be home every 2 weeks, because that will cut down their earning potential. So what we do in that instance, we draw up a list of compatible co-drivers within 100 miles of where they each live. Because we take our trucks home, that's what makes it a lot easier when we arrange those home times. Now, just because you started out with that co-driver and it was all working perfectly, it doesn't matter in a month or 6 weeks or 2 months or 3 months, 6 months time that continues. If you don't find that you're getting on with your co-driver, just communicate that to your fleet manager. You may have already found someone else you prefer to drive with, and we'll get those trucks together and we'll get those swapped over. So just because you start out doesn't mean you're stuck together.
That's great. Got another question. Do you pay drivers while they wait to be loaded or unloaded?
Right, so that's called detention pay. So how that works is, and this is an industry standard, how it's worked out there is we allow our customers 2 hours to load or unload that vehicle. Now, this is providing you got there on time or early for the appointment. If you got there late for the appointment, that's obviously the reason you're still sitting there. So once you get there, if you're sitting there for more than 2 hours, for up to the next 6 hours, we pay you at $12 per hour. Now, on the back of that, we're actually 75% drop and hook. So only 25% of our loads, you actually sit there and get loaded. So what that means in real terms is, if you take a load to, let's say, a Walmart or a Home Depot distribution center, when you get to the gatehouse, you'll take that trailer in there. They'll either give you a dock to drop it on, or you'll drop it on the loaded pad in one of their slots. You'll immediately run round to the empty parking lot, pick up one of our empty trailers, and then go on and get your next load. So yes, we do.
Fantastic. All right. And then another question of, is the dedicated driving that you have, is it only solo or is it team driving?
No, it's both. Yeah, we have dedicated on both. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Fantastic. Good questions, guys. I like all these questions. Any other questions that we haven't addressed? That anybody might have any questions? If you do, go ahead and raise your hand. Be happy to answer it for you. Another good question. Lease purchase. Do you guys have a lease? I think they see this right here. This lease purchase option. Can you explain a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, so with our lease purchase, they do have to have a year's experience before they opt to take out the lease purchase option. We have about 120 lease and owner operator drivers on Covenant. And like I say, the reason it's a year's experience, that's through the insurance company, through the leasing program. And they can lease anywhere from one of our older trucks that we're trading out, anywhere up to and including a brand new truck. Now, at that point, it's like financing a car. Depends the level of payment they wish to take on, is how new a truck they decide to lease. But yeah, very popular program.
Fantastic. And then Timothy asked, since you are drop and hook at around 75%, how do the trailers get repaired if they need to be?
Right, so we have obviously all the different truck stops and Trailco and the manufacturers of the trailers. So wherever we go, we actually fuel up in Petros and TAs. If any of you guys have been out into one of those truck stops, you'll notice they've got the service bays in there. We also have our own workshops in Chattanooga, so we'll actually repair them there if you happen to be going by there. But if not, we'll get them repaired out on the road. We have accounts with all those different facilities that fix the vehicles.
Fantastic.
And that goes for the trucks as well as the trailers.
Fantastic. Great questions, guys. And then one last question was, how many miles is the team dedicated and what regions covered? From what I can see, Frank, correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like there's a little bit of variety, just depends on which dedicated route you get. Some of them might be over the road.
Yeah, there is, and it depends where you live because we hire out of all 48 contiguous states. So we've got different routes in all of those different areas depending where you live. Now, our team drivers average about 5,000 miles per week.
Fantastic. So they're raking in that money, that's for sure.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I mean, look, anyone that's coming into trucking at this time with the shortage of drivers, and obviously it's the impetus has been put on raising the rates, and that's why after a year they're getting 80 cents per mile now. You know, it's a good trade to be coming into, and it's a great career to get into.
Absolutely. If anything good came out of all this pandemic, I always say it's definitely the need and the opportunity for truck drivers.
Well, yeah, I mean, truck driving never stops.
That's for sure.
We do know a lot of stuff gets moved by rail, you know, a lot of freight, but I've never seen a train pull up to Walmart to deliver the groceries.
That's for sure. And then Gwen, I see your question about can you get a copy of the PowerPoint? Oh, sorry about that, guys. This has all been so far on Covenant's website, so covenantlogistics.com. You guys can definitely find out all their information about them right through their website. Frank, I've loved having you on tonight. I thank you so much for joining us. We always love having you on and love having you come to our school. So thank you so much again for joining us tonight.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. And like I say, if any of the people who are on tonight want to come in on the 23rd at 11 a.m., Friday the 23rd of September, I'll be more than happy to speak to them while I'm there, and they can sit in on the presentation that I do for your regular students.
Absolutely. We love it. Well, we will see you on the 23rd. Frank, thanks so much for joining us, and you have a great rest of your evening, okay?
Yeah, thank you, Kayla. You do the same. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, so we're just going to wrap it up here. We're going to go through a few more things before we jump off for the evening. A little bit more about our school here. Our trucks, we have thousands of drivers that have had their very first truck driving experience in our trucks. We have multiple different types of trucks on our facility here. This is kind of what the inside of a truck might look like if you've never seen the inside of one before. Just some pictures here. Some different driving jobs. You can haul freights of all different kinds when you're a truck driver. You might remain primarily in a specified area of the country. And most companies do offer weekly home time, great pay, steady runs, and company benefits. This is based off of the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics for 2019 to 2020. Honestly, guys, I feel like this is a pretty low range here, showing that average salary of $46,250. That's honestly way low. As you heard from what Frank was saying, those drivers are racking in some great pay out there on the road. School qualifications, we do review everybody's driving record, criminal background, physical abilities. Every student that comes through here has to do a drug screening, and we want to know your intensity to succeed. So those are things that we're going to review before enrolling you into the program. We ensure that you can benefit from our training before you start because we want to make sure that you are employable. We have a 4-week residence hands-on training program here. Great instructor to student ratio. Have this wonderful campus. It's 350 acres here. And this is that 1.25 mile track that I mentioned earlier. It's a great tool, and we take a lot of pride in it as well. We also have a simulator here, state-of-the-art simulator. As you see, this is Mr. Mike Adams. He's one of our he's our training director here. We have this awesome simulator. It's great for helping out with people who might have some difficulty with backing or just need a little help on any particular topic when it comes to truck driving. We do have our career services department. That is the department that I'm the head of here. We've been perfecting our graduate to work program for over 43 years, and it really does work. We start working with our students on the very first day of resident training school. We have wonderful companies like Frank with Covenant, amongst others, that come and talk to every single class. So there's a great opportunity for you guys to talk to these companies and get a feel for what's out there. We also use a lot of one-on-one private counseling sessions to direct our students to companies that would be a good match for both the company and the student. So if somebody has a particular situation that they have to abide to or work around, I can help you guys find out what company is going to be the best fit for you. We also have a job board, truckschool.com/jobs, where we list all the different companies that we work with and job opportunities that they have throughout the country. If you're coming to training from out of town, we get a lot of people from out of town. We definitely suggest that you stay at the Green Cove Springs Inn for the best deal. It's about 7 miles from our training grounds. We are kind of out here in the woods, so it's the closest thing there is for sure. But all the rooms have microwaves, refrigerators, free cable with HBO, and free Wi-Fi. They do get special rates if you are a student of ours. $902 for that 4 weeks. Breaks down to about $34 a night, and that's a double occupancy room, so you are rooming with another student from the school. You can get a private room for a little extra money. Cost, fees, and financing. Our tuition here is $7,495. We have financing from outside financing banks and credit unions. We also work with workforce, vocational rehab, veterans, TAA, income share agreements, more specifically on that side, MIA share. We also have some in-house financing. And most of the companies that come and talk to you guys, especially those over-the-road companies, are going to have that tuition reimbursement that Frank was telling you guys about. We've been doing this for a very long time. It's all good. We have it all. We have companies in the jobs. We have the industry recognition. We're well known throughout the industry. We have impeccable governmental relations. We have guaranteed tuition financing for everyone. Over 40,000 graduates. Like I mentioned, we actually just hit 42,000 graduates that came before you. We have a program that is really fun to complete. They have a great time out there. It's a blast. And we have that awesome training facility at 350 acres. We always appreciate our students that come from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Sorry, guys, got a little tongue-tied there. Department of Vocational Rehab Program, State Vocational Rehab Program, State Workforce Program, and the Bureau of Indian Affairs. We are where the trucking companies come for new drivers. Like I mentioned, not just Frank with Covenant. I got over 160 different companies that I have relationships with here. And we can definitely help anybody find something that's going to be a good fit for them. Usually on average, I can get anywhere from 6 to 10 companies that come to each class and talk to you guys. At this time, does anybody have any questions about the school or anything like that that I can answer for you? And raise your hand if you do. All right, guys, so I got a couple special announcements before we sign off for the evening. Our next webinar is going to be 2 weeks from today at 6:30, and our guest that evening is going to be Donnie Graves with Windy Hill Foliage. We also have an open house event this Saturday. Such a fun time. Definitely recommend that you guys, if you're local or can get here, definitely come hang out with us for that Saturday morning from 9 to 12. We usually have a company coming in. I think Mr. Donnie is actually going to be there from Windy Hill. So definitely come hang out with us. You can bring the family or your friends. We'll show you our facility, get you up in a truck to go for a ride. We'll even let you go hang out in the heavy equipment and test one of our pieces of equipment out. I'd like to thank you all for joining me tonight. Such great interactions, such great questions. I love seeing that. If you guys haven't done so already, make sure you contact our admissions office first thing tomorrow. 1-800-488-7364. Your lost time is costing you big money. It's all good. You just got to make sure that you call. Thank you guys again for joining me tonight. In order to sign off of the webinar, you're going to go to File, exit, leave webinar. File, exit, leave webinar. You guys have a wonderful night. Thank you so much.